The story begins with a view of Washington, D.C., quickly shifting to the rundown alleys where homeless people and drug-addicted gangs roam. A gang heads to a closed drugstore at night. When one member struggles to unlock the door, the leader, Big Stan, breaks the lock with an axe. Maggie Hayward, a young woman in the gang, is suffering from drug withdrawal and begs for a fix. Upstairs, the store owner and his wife hear the commotion. Despite his wife's pleas as she calls the police, the owner grabs a shotgun to confront the burglars. Johnny, a gang member, knows where the drugs are, but can't find them fast enough for Stan. Maggie, in withdrawal pain, slumps against a display. The owner confronts the gang, revealing their trump card: Johnny is his son. The owner stares in shock, seeing his son among the thieves. The police arrive and a shootout ensues. Stan kills the store owner, and Johnny is shot by the police. A sniper kills Stan and another gang member. Maggie, deep in withdrawal, picks up a dropped pistol. When the police enter, she shoots and kills an officer. Maggie is taken to the police station, resistant and rebellious. A detective slaps her when she refuses to give her name. She asks for a pencil, then stabs him with it. As she's dragged away, a man watches from the mezzanine. In court, Maggie is convicted of murdering the officer and sentenced to death. She tries to escape but is restrained. The same man watches from the courtroom. During her execution, Maggie begs for her mother. As the drugs take effect, she loses control and her eyes close. The same man watches from the observation window. Maggie wakes in a plain, white room covered to her neck in a sheet. Bob, the mysterious man, enters and shows her pictures of her funeral. He tells her she is dead to the world and buried at Oatman Cemetery. Bob explains he works for a secret branch of the government, offering her a second chance. He says she needs to learn basics like standing straight and speaking properly, then languages and computers to do good for the country. When Maggie asks what happens if she refuses, Bob reminds her of her grave. Bob gives her an hour to decide. When he returns, he sees Maggie in bed through the peephole, but she ambushes him with a chair. She takes his gun and uses him as a hostage to escape. As they move through an office area, Bob instructs employees and security to stay calm. At the main exit, Maggie demands Bob open the door, but he says it's controlled remotely and won't be unlocked, even at the cost of his life. A security rifle is aimed at Maggie for a precision shot. Bob calmly asks for his gun back. Maggie appears to comply, but suddenly puts the barrel in her mouth and pulls the trigger. The gun doesn't fire. Bob takes the gun, knocks her down, and explains that a smart agent never chambers the first round. He then chambers the round and shoots her in the thigh to slow her down. A day later, Bob visits Maggie in her room. Her leg is bandaged, and he asks for her decision. Initially resentful, Maggie's survival instincts kick in, and she agrees but requests music from her favorite artist, Nina Simone. Bob agrees. Maggie starts her lessons, learning computer skills, combat, social manners, etiquette, posture, and proper language use under the guidance of Amanda. Bob visits Maggie again. Her progress is excellent, but she is restless and asks to go outside. Bob reveals he was once a recruit like her, but still denies her request. Frustrated, Maggie becomes rebellious, shooting all targets indiscriminately during a firearm exercise and eating with her hands during a dinner lesson. Bob and his supervisor, Kaufman, discuss Maggie in Kaufman's office. Bob insists he can help Maggie improve, noting the need for a young female operative. Kaufman says recruits usually get 2 years, but Maggie only has 6 months. If she doesn't show improvement, she'll be killed. On Maggie's birthday, Bob brings her a cake and tells her Kaufman's ultimatum. He lightly kisses her cheek and leaves. Later, Amanda finds Maggie pleading for help at the stairs. Under Amanda's guidance, Maggie quickly masters her lessons. She emerges in a black evening dress, looking stately and beautiful. Bob takes her to dinner outside the compound. At the restaurant, Bob gives Maggie a gift, a high-powered handgun. He discreetly points out a VIP and his bodyguard at another table. Maggie's mission is to kill the VIP with 2 bullets and escape through the men's room window, where a car will be waiting. Maggie kicks off her shoes, slips the spare clip into her cleavage, and takes the gun. She moves up the stairs to the VIP's table. The bodyguard reacts, but Maggie is quicker, shooting him in the chest. She then kills the VIP with 2 shots. Amidst the chaos, she evades security and heads to the men's room, only to find the escape window bricked up. Maggie doubles back to the kitchen, pursued by armed men who start shooting, killing staff. Pinned down, she returns fire, killing several bodyguards. Seeing a man load a rocket, she dives into a laundry chute just before the explosion. She escapes into the rainy night, throwing her gun into the tidal basin. Back at the compound, Bob waits in her room. When confronted about the bricked-up window, he reveals it was her final test. Furious, Maggie hits Bob and grabs his collar. Bob tells her she passed and will be released the next day. Calming down, Maggie gives Bob a sharp kiss, saying it's the last one. As Maggie is prepared for release, Bob tells Kaufman she's ready to be a field operative. Kaufman warns her sternly, considering her a dangerous loose cannon. Maggie, now dressed in a sharp skirt suit, looks like a professional businesswoman. Bob explains her cover identity as Claudia Doran from Chicago, living in Venice, California, and working as a computer sales official. He gives her the necessary documents and money to buy a car. Her code name will be Nina, in line with her affinity for Nina Simone. Maggie leaves the compound, hails a taxi, and heads to the airport. In Venice, Maggie needs a place to stay. She finds an apartment for rent and meets the manager, JP. Despite the apartment being trashed, she likes the ocean view and decides to rent it. Next, Maggie goes grocery shopping. Uncertain about what to buy, she follows another shopper's choices, filling her cart with canned ravioli, cantaloupes, TV dinners, and bread. JP sees her at the supermarket and helps when she drops some cans. They make small talk, and Maggie boldly invites him to dinner that evening. Over dinner, JP tells Maggie about himself. He manages the building for a rent discount and is working on a photography portfolio. Maggie, fascinated, playfully shares a piece of ravioli with JP, leading to a kiss and the start of their relationship. He helps her fix up her apartment and takes photos of her. 4 months later, JP notices Maggie has no friends or family around and asks her personal questions, which catch her off guard. Upset, JP walks away. Maggie follows and shares a bit about her real self, explaining her connection to Nina Simone, who was her mother's favorite musician. She talks about the passion in Simone's music and how it reminds her of her mother. One morning, while lying in bed with JP, Maggie gets a call. The caller addresses her as Nina and assigns her to a mission at the Marriott Hotel in Century City, expecting her at the personnel entrance in an hour. Maggie quickly makes up a cover story for JP, saying she needs to hurry to El Segundo for work, then heads out. At the Marriott, Maggie goes to the personnel entrance and enters the room service office. There, a man in a suit oversees the room service staff and 2 tied-up maids. He gives Maggie a maid's uniform and tells her to put it on and wait. Soon, a phone rings. One operative answers, posing as room service, takes an order and prints a receipt, saying it will arrive in 15 minutes. The operatives prepare glasses of orange juice, a bowl of cereal, and coffee and tea. The lead operative places a disc-shaped object into the coffee pot. Maggie is instructed to deliver the tray and return. Nervous, Maggie delivers the tray. A man in a suit frisks her at the door. Inside, men in suits make small talk. A security agent checks the tray and signs the receipt. Maggie returns to the room service office, where operatives listen to sounds from the suite via a hidden eavesdropping device. She gives the receipt booklet to the lead operative and asks what to do next. He tells her she is free to go home. Maggie changes back into her skirt suit and leaves the hotel, smiling as she heads to her car. As she starts her car, a massive explosion tears through the top floor of the hotel. She realizes the tray she delivered concealed both a listening device and a high-power explosive. Bob is waiting for her outside her building. Headquarters, including Kaufman, is pleased with her performance. They know about her relationship with JP, and Bob insists on meeting him. Despite Maggie's protests, Bob says she must invite JP for dinner. Bob arrives at Maggie's place, posing as her uncle. During dinner, Bob and JP talk, with Bob giving prepared answers about himself. JP asks about Maggie, which infuriates her as they had agreed not to discuss their backgrounds. Maggie angrily mentions being from the ghettos of Kansas City, contradicting her cover story of being from Chicago. Bob smoothly covers by telling a story about her being born in Kansas City. Maggie smiles as she listens. Bob tells JP he works in travel and gives them tickets to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Maggie suspects this is a cover for a field assignment. In New Orleans, Maggie enjoys Mardi Gras with JP, but they are accosted by two muggers. JP hands over some cash, but the muggers demand everything. Maggie uses her training to subdue them, impressing JP. She calls room service for a meal, but her happiness is interrupted by a call for Nina, directing her to a hidden compartment in the bathroom cabinet. Excusing herself for a bath, Maggie fills the tub to cover the noise as she searches. She finds a headset and walkie-talkie, sets them up, and follows instructions to find a high-power rifle in the drawers. Assembling it quickly, she breaks the window glass quietly with the bath mat. She's told to aim at an approaching limousine but stalls, as JP wants to propose. Maggie tries to stifle her tears. Room service arrives, buying her a minute as JP handles it, but the caller hasn't identified her target yet. As JP tries to get Maggie's attention, she's told her target is a woman in white dressed as Marie Antoinette, with two bodyguards. Both JP and her caller vie for her attention, making her struggle for composure. Maggie finally shoots and kills the woman just before JP opens the door. He sees her in her shirt and panties, with the tub full and the window broken. Tearfully, Maggie confesses she did something very bad long ago and now must pay a bitter price. JP comforts her and accepts her secrecy for now. Maggie has hidden the rifle and radio in the tub. A few days later in Washington, Maggie confronts Bob, wanting out. Bob sternly warns her that out doesn't exist. She appeals to his humanity, saying she is no longer the cold-hearted murderer he saved from execution. Bob hands her a dossier on Fahd Bahktiar. The job requires her to impersonate his girlfriend, get onto his estate, kill him, and destroy his computer containing sensitive nuclear information he's selling to the Middle East, after downloading it to disks to bring back. Maggie asks Amanda if she thinks leaving the agency is possible. Amanda admits she doesn't know. Maggie thanks her and leaves, dropping the dossier in a trash bin. At home in California, Maggie finds Bob waiting outside. He's recovered the dossier and gives it back, quietly promising to help her if she completes the job. Maggie and her assistant Beth research Fahd's girlfriend Angela, using tapes of a birthday party Fahd threw for her. JP arrives home and cynically greets Beth, suspecting she's not a relative. Maggie and Beth pose as stylists for Angela. On the terrace, they offer her drugged tea, but Angela refuses. Improvising, Maggie covers Angela's mouth and injects her with a knockout drug while Beth holds her hands. Angela's muffled cries alert her bodyguards, leading to a gunfight. The bodyguards are killed, but Beth is wounded. She calls Kaufman to report, and Maggie is horrified to learn Kaufman is sending in a cleaner. The cleaner, Victor, arrives to salvage the operation. He puts the two dead guards and an agent he killed into the hot tub, along with the unconscious Angela, and pours strong acid into the tubs for cleanup. Beth, horrified by the side casualties, is silenced by Victor with a bullet to her heart. Maggie, scared, knows she must finish the job perfectly. Disguised as Angela, she lets Victor drive her to Fahd's. At HQ, Kaufman tells Bob that Victor was brought in to prevent backlash, with orders to kill Maggie after the job is done. Maggie, disguised as Angela, gains entrance to Fahd's house. She finds him in the bath and pulls her gun, ordering him to access his nuclear program on his computer. Bob hurries out of HQ and into his car. Maggie forces Fahd to his study and makes him access his computer. When a system error appears, she suspects stalling and takes over, but the disk drive is encrypted and needs a password. She threatens Fahd, forcing him to give up the password. She starts copying the data onto a floppy disk. One of Fahd's security agents tells Victor to move his car. Victor pretends to comply but reverses, scooping the agent onto the trunk and tossing him over a fence down a steep hill. Maggie finishes copying the data and inserts a device that fries the computer's circuits. She orders Fahd to the ground, indicating she plans to kill him. Her hand shakes, and Fahd, sensing her hesitation, tackles her and wrestles for the gun, calling for his bodyguard. Maggie knocks Fahd out, fights past guards, and leaps into Victor's waiting car. As more guards shoot and the main gate closes, Victor drives through a side fence to escape. Maggie declares she's had enough, but realizes Victor plans to kill her. As he reaches for his gun, she bashes him with her purse and grabs the handbrake, sending the car out of control and perching it precariously on a bend over a steep incline. Victor knocks Maggie out of the car, and they fight. Maggie crawls under the car, and Victor tries to stab her. When he braces himself on the car, Maggie kicks, causing the car to tip further, pinning and partially crushing Victor. As she tries to crawl out, Victor grabs her throat. They struggle until the car slides off the road, crushing Victor completely as it goes down the incline, taking him with it. Bob arrives at the scene with the fire crew but finds no sign of Maggie. Maggie has made it home, showered, and goes to bed. JP is awake and horrified by her bruises. He kisses and hugs her. Bob arrives at Maggie's home. JP lets him in, showing that he knows more about Bob's connection to Maggie. JP reveals that Maggie has left with only the clothes on her back and asks Bob to let her go. When Bob says he can't, JP hands him the disc Maggie left for him. Bob asks to take a Nina Simone record. As Bob drives off, Maggie watches from a side street. Shivering, she starts to walk. Bob pulls back and looks at her. He calls Kaufman, reporting that Victor is dead but all needed information is salvaged. After a long pause, Bob tells Kaufman that Maggie is dead too. Maggie sees Bob's car driving away, realizing he recognized her and has let her go. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.